But let's kind of jump into that now. We'll go into the key matchups of the game. I mean, for me, it kind of starts and ends with the offensive line and how they play. So, I mean, you're going up against Cameron Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Tyson Alualu, and TJ Watt, which is interesting. They have Larry Ogunjobi listed as an end. So I don't
Yeah,
love that for him.
well, because they have T.J. Watt as a linebacker too.
Oh,
So
I guess
up
you're right.
front, like,
Yeah, they're in that like 3-4 front. So
Yeah.
technically, he's gonna play an end in that defense.
but like I
But
think
he's
he'll
gonna
be the
be
same role he played for us. He'll be
Yeah.
the
yeah, he's gonna likely be on like a guard or in between the garden center.
Yeah, I guess you guys are right. You guys are right. Okay. I'm wrong. But definitely, I think my favorite matchup to look at is kind of TJ Watt and Lyle Collins. I think that's going to be must see television. I think it's going to be interesting. I could definitely see Scott already said he thinks it's going to get chippy from the Steelers offense and the Bengals defense. I think this side of the ball seems a little more likely to me. I could definitely see. I mean, we saw TJ Watt after a pick kind of go at Joe Burrow. I think if he does that with Lyle Collins on the field, I don't think Lyle Collins is going to like that very much.
No, I don't think he would take kindly to that. He's kind of dubbed himself as the bodyguard. So, yeah, I don't think he would appreciate that. But yeah, I think this is one of, like, to me it's more of almost a philosophical type thing in this game of like the Steelers were the bullies for the Bengals for so long, and then the Bengals over the last 3 games have stood up and punched the bully in the mouth. And I mean, are like, how is that going to be received? We've seen Steelers Bengals games get really chippy a whole lot. Typically when we're on the wrong end of it, but like I don't know. I think the chippiness could be a thing, not be a main thing of this game, or I think it could be not a part at all. Like it didn't get chippy last year really because we put our foot on their throat and dominated them. Like it was never close enough to get chippy per se. So but I don't know. Like I feel weird going into a Steelers game without expecting it to get chippy. So I expect some fireworks somewhere. George Pickens seems like a good way that could happen. Collins Watt could be another one. But
George
yeah,
pick him.
yeah, he's NFL young boy. Yeah, he's
Oh
it could be interesting. But
Kind of two electric nicknames I'll give him. But Jake, what were
yeah,
you going to say?
I real quick, I think George Pickens has become my least favorite Steeler, and he hasn't played a game. Like I hate this.
Am I weird to kind of like him?
he's a
Yes.
Steeler, so I won't
What?
comment.
George pick him? I kind of like that. That's kind of
If
tough.
he,
No.
if he wasn't a Steeler, he could be pretty cool. But he's a Steeler.
Yeah, oh,
See,
dude, if he was,
I
if
think
he,
I
if he
like
was-
it.
No. If he could have, if he was on like the Rams or something, I'd be like, this guy's awesome. Like I really like this guy, but because he's a Steeler, it's like some Heinz Ward shit. Like I hate that guy.
See, I will give it to him because I feel like he embraces the role where like Heinz Ward kind of tried to play like the good guy when he was actually the asshole on the field. Whereas like Pickens seems like he kind of embraces it. But Jake, finish up what you were saying.
Okay, wait, we won't have to argue about it. We're not going to go that.
Yeah, we're not gonna dive into to George Pickens.
We did this a lot last year, and I'm not saying that this is like some like franchise changing game, blah blah. But it will definitely be interesting to see. You know, we haven't seen the Bengals win 3 straight. You know, it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see like what does a Steelers team that gets swept last year, what does that look like in a really big rivalry? You know, are they going to roll over for us after if like let's say they come out and score 2 touchdowns off the bat in the first, like are they rolling over the rest of the game, or like what does it look like? What is the new look rivalry with Joe Burrow and Big Ben gone look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to put it. Is it's kind of we are at a weird point with the Steelers where you kind of don't know what their next move is going to be. Mitch is not likely going to be the long term answer, so it seems like to me he's just this bridge guy until Pickett's either ready or maybe definitely Pickett's gonna be their guy next. But maybe we see him in the next matchup of the season. Who knows? But I do think it's gonna be interesting. Scott, is there another matchup you're kind of looking at besides offensive line against their packed defensive line?
I mean, yeah, like I think this game could be utterly dominated by Trey Hendrickson. Like if
Yeah.
um, their O line's not good. Like there's arguments to be had. It was worse than ours last year, and we know how we felt about the Bengals' offensive line. So, but yeah, like I think Trey Hendrickson is an absolute dog, and he can kind of have one of those games where he just wrecks everything they're trying to do. Because if you look at him last year, Ben Roethlisberger had the quickest like QB release time, fastest to get the ball and get it out of his hands. Trubisky won't be that way. On the other hand, Trubisky's definitely pretty slippery in the pocket. He's not the statue that Big Ben was, where he'll let you hit him and go down. So I think it's interesting, but I think there's definitely a possibility Trey Hendrickson kind of manhandles this game.
Jake, what about you?
Well, so mine is a little bit different than Scott. Still on that defensive side of the ball. I want to know if the outside corners were actually a fluke or not. I'm not saying I'm not buying into Chidobe Awuzie and Eli Apple from last year, but you're talking about two guys that have never, ever played at that level. At least with Trey Hendrickson, you saw the flashes. Chidobe Awuzie more than Eli Apple was a better player before coming here, but not at that borderline, like one of the better cornerbacks. So I want to see, how does Eli Apple do against Deontay Johnson? How does Chidobe Awuzie follow up last year? Those are kind of the matchups I want to see. And also, I don't buy a ton into the Jesse Bates missing training camp, but you also never know. Like he had that one practice, or he's had 2 weeks of practice where the other guys have had almost 4 to 6. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think Jesse Bates misses a beat, but I think that could be a matchup that we look back and, maybe say, were we as good as we thought we were on that part of the ball, on that defensive side of the ball, or not? I think that could come down to being one of the key matchups, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's a great way to look at it, especially coming off of definitely Chidobe Awuzie's most productive season as a cornerback, and obviously Eli Apple's, and it's not super close. And this isn't a great matchup, I would say, physically for them. I mean, George Pickens, I think, is like 6'3". I know Chase Claypool's like 6'5", and Deontay Johnson's like 6'10".
So Claypool's going to be in the slot, is what everyone seems to be saying. Claypool's going to be pretty much only in the slot this year because
I don't love that matchup for us with Mike Hilton in the slot. Have our shortest guy in the field against their biggest. I don't love the matchup physically.
You could see Dax bounce around in there.
I would love that. I just definitely
Dax is cool too.
Oh, are we just like forgetting Trey Flowers?
It's fair. I mean, I don't think they're gonna throw him in just to cover Chase Claypool the whole time.
No. But I'm just saying, like, if we're calling it a size matchup, like
that's fair.
You would think they would potentially, first quarter, they see that that's kind of what they're going for. Like you make.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't think we care that much about the size matchup. If Mitch Trubisky wants to try and beat us, I think we'll let him. Like we'll be okay and see, because I feel like we can get the better of Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, it was just definitely something I thought was interesting because I don't think they've had that kind of size mismatch on the outside. Just because I know Chidobe's not, I think Chidobe's like flat 6 foot, but I have no idea how tall Eli Apple is, and I know Mike Hilton's kind of short, but they have a physically imposing receiving core. So, and just going off the cornerbacks, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can follow that up. And I mean, for as much good graces we gave Lou last year, can he do it again? Was last year a fluke on the defensive side of the ball? I think no one expected the defense to be as productive as they were. And I mean, to me, it would be hard to imagine. It would be horrible. But I mean, stranger things have happened. People have come into the season and absolutely flopped. So yeah, I think the defense is kind of interesting because I feel like I have a little more faith in the offense continuing its level of play. With the defense, I'm not holding my breath, but that's going to be what I kind of want them to prove. I want to see that Chidobe Awuzie can do it again. I want to see that Eli Apple can be a productive cornerback in the NFL. And then obviously while Cam Taylor-Britt's out, and just kind of make him earn the spot. Don't just give it to Cam Taylor-Britt. Make him earn it, Eli, which I expect him to do.
And another thing that I wanted to go off of on the defense, as like kind of maybe not a question mark, but something that I think is really exciting, the defensive line could be a huge upgrade. Joseph Asai, geez. even if he just plays average, that's one more average pass rusher than you were missing last year. I mean, other than Trey Hendrickson, there was pretty much nothing. Sam Hubbard had, a decent amount of sacks, but some of those are coverage, that sort of thing. It was Carter. If Carter comes out and has, a good game, shows that he can start to blow up the pass game too. Like, there's a lot of guys that I think could be a real upgrade from last year's team, which then in turn makes me feel a little bit better about the secondary too.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, because I think Carter can almost eventually kind of step into that Ogunjobi role where he was a third down guy. He's definitely going to be like interior pressure from the D line, but also now with like you could get to the point where you see Osai on a third down with Hendrickson on the other side, and then you rotate Sam Hubbard in at D tackle for a pass rush. It's definitely a deep unit, so you could see a lot of kind of different looks from it. And yeah, like I just think it'll be fun to kind of see how that plays out throughout the year.